Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
Nah. I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it.
Nah.
You know, if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody going to clean it up.
We're finally here. 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 All this time, and Kazuya finally reached the point of doing his best to be himself, looking out for Chizuru. But she's wholesome, but again, keep in mind, Chizuru is a gem. You gotta really just keep that in mind. Don't go out there thinking that you're gonna pull a Kazuya. You're not. It's very difficult. But this is just a reminder. I don't want to be rude. I'm just telling you, like, the landscape, just don't blame people being destabilized, but just know that a lot of people's dealing with enough things as is on their own. Like, they have enough going on in the landscape. There's those that have been deliberately sabotaging the populations and causing people to be destabilized psychologically, and then that leads to the biological. It's very, very sad. The amount of people ending up homeless, it's very, very sad. People just go in and they're very upset at the food pricing. Whether it's lower middle class, like, it's happening. And there's a lot of infighting in top fields of information and in key sectors of the government. Do your research. We're just going to give you that nudge, and do your research, because we want you to operate from a place of being more competent. If you're competent for yourself, at the bare minimum, you're competent, you're being a decent human being, that can definitely help locally and across the major cities, especially in the United States. I can only talk about the United States because this is my continent. Each continent has to clean its room. So this is just a reminder. I'm going to throw it here. Because some people's going to be like, oh, that's great. Kazuya got himself. But remember, she's in the landscape. Girls got to eat. You already know how it goes. And that's a prediction. Most likely, Chizuru's going to turn Kazuya down because she's in the landscape. She has things she got to figure out. You know how females are. Most females. It's not just males, but especially females. If you don't got efficiently to look after her, you're really not going to be able to be with her, because girls are a responsibility. You have to be very responsible when you're with a girl. Like, it's not even about anything carnal. That's the last thing. Like, it's a huge responsibility. You maintaining a girlfriend and being responsible for yourself and day to day what you got to figure out, but also being responsible with her. Some females can say, oh, no, they're independent, they don't need it. No, but they want the emotional security, and they want your attention. They want it. And someone doesn't have to be baggage. I want to be clear on that, all right? It's completely okay to have someone that has a lot of consideration for you and that they cherish you a lot and they want to be around you a lot. It's completely okay. But you see, some people have their glasses very full during different phases in their life. And if they're not able to reset and they're not able to provide sufficient reminders to each other, it can be difficult to remember why you want to appreciate the person in the first place. And oftentimes when someone forgets about reasons as to why to appreciate a person, and they forget to trigger those emotions intentionally and just to enjoy themselves, it becomes difficult. It becomes tiring, Some people, they forget. And that's why providing reminders is very important. But it is a huge responsibility. Not everyone can handle that responsibility. And you can't put other people down because in a certain phase in their life, if they have too much going on, they can't necessarily handle it. The best thing is to just be honest about it. And that's it. And what's cool about Chizuru is that she's being honest about it. There's a lot of things that she's going to have to most likely do, which we're going to talk about in a moment. And I'm not jinxing it. I'm just saying, like, within the landscape, there's a lot she's going to have to somewhat have to do that it might not allow her to be Kazuya's girlfriend, And it's sad that her not having her grandparents, she's being forced financially to do something that she doesn't necessarily want to do, and she wouldn't do it if she had actual free will. Sufficient currency. And the thing is that artificially, she's being destabilized. Just like a lot of females, like a lot of males are being artificially destabilized. I'm not going to go into that. We're going to have a separate discussion as to why that is happening and the way that that should not be in the particular civilization. Because there's certain things that have to stop existing in the particular civilization. You can make certain things non-existent. So it's all about the population and the actual, ultimately new legal mobilizations that helps you nudge the physical reality in ways that benefits you and the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization, and not the specific corrupt oligarchs, bad apples. If you don't know what that phrasing means, it's completely all right. At the moment, all I'll say is just comprehend that those that benefit off of destabilizing large percentages of people, of the population, of the currency that they extract out of the populations, and they misuse the extracted currency to multi-angle attack and destabilize against large percentages of people of a particular civilization. And essentially, at the moment, just focus on the fact that Chizuru is looking to survive. So she has a lot that she has going on. There's a lot that Chizuru has to figure out, and that's the reason Kazuya isn't going to be able to have a chance to be with Chizuru, because Chizuru's going through a moment in her life that she can't be with anyone necessarily. Like, she's gonna make, like, I'm not gonna go into that. Let's just say that she needs money, she wants status, she wants to fulfill her goal of being in front of the TV. She has her own reasonings. So that outweighs her desire to want to be with Kazuya. All right? And that's just what at the moment it is. How do you, fellow bright minds, feel about that? Share your perspectives in the comment section about the information. And let's be clear, you should not stick around for abuse. If someone has a certain level of weakness where they're spilling over onto you too much, you have to step away from that. If it's psychological, if it's physical, you have to step away from that. All right? So let's make that clear. Because I have a lot of loved ones and close friends that are females, and same advice and the same reminders I provide here, I provide them. But you do have to comprehend some females out there. It's like there are some males out there. It could be a small weakness, and it just rubs them the wrong way. And if they don't want to stick around, let them be. Respect that. You know, Kazuya has certain things that she might not like. In terms of, there's still doubts that she has about Kazuya. And even not just Kazuya, when it comes to people in general, you can turn a weakness into a strength if you can give someone a nudge, and if they're willing to make corrections within themselves and also for your sake. There's nothing wrong with that, because you're supposed to change. Life is all about change. How well can you change for yourself internally and externally, and how willing are you to change for someone if it's for the right reasons? And you decide the factors in terms of the right reasons. So each person out there, what you tolerate one person is not the same thing you're going to tolerate from someone else. So if someone is having a bit of weakness in one thing, and it could be all sorts of different things, you might tolerate that compared to someone else. So it's a case by case. Chizuru, her desire to want to pursue certain goals, that's her weakness. Like, she wants that. It's a strength, but it's also a weakness because it's preventing her from, you know, being able to build significantly with Kazuya. And at the same time, Kazuya has weaknesses also. And if they can't align because they have the types of weaknesses that they can't be together, it is what it is. You know? As for Kazuya, he has to be willing to just walk away and do whatever he has to figure out, because she already made her intentions clear. So you should respect her intentions, walk away, glow up, go do your thing, and eventually maybe you'll encounter someone that can resonate with you and can see themselves being at your side and achieving a lot and having aspirations, sharing a future, sharing aspirations. Because clearly that's not Chizuru, and she already made it clear. I already sense it. I know based on Chizuru's nature, she wants to achieve her goals, and she does not necessarily want to be with Kazuya. Because if she wanted to, she would figure out a way to do both. And that's just what it always comes down to. When someone genuinely wants to be with you, they'll find a way to have both. But because her emotions are just not in it, like she doesn't have significant or strong enough emotions for Kazuya, she's not going to put in that time. Because if she did have the strong enough emotions, she would make it work. She would figure out both. So she could have both. And you best believe when females want something, they'll go after it. They'll definitely get it. And they'll find a way to make things work. So when a female does not want to make things work, see it for what it is and step away. It's that simple. And when they get comfier and comfier, they want it. And it is a huge responsibility. You know? And depending on the female, you got to improve your discernment, because depending on the female, it can really become your Achilles heel. If you can't regulate yourself, and then the moment that you show a little bit of weakness, depending on the female, she's going to want to step away from you. Because again, she needs her basic needs met. And if she's focused on her basic needs, plus the landscape and how the landscape is destabilizing people, in order for her to get certain opportunities, she might not be able to be with you. And that's the thing. Like, Chizuru, if she's out here chasing certain opportunities, she's not going to be able to be with Kazuya. And I'm just putting that out there. You know, I'm just putting that out there right now as we go into this. Please keep that in mind. And there's fellow bright minds out there. Please add on to the knowledge and insights. Add on to the topic and what you are alert about in terms of the landscape, you know, and how people are being tricked into fighting amongst themselves. You know, females against females, males against males, females and males against each other, when really you should be looking at the embodiments and those that have the best aspects of humanity. Because I'm not saying you got to be a goody two-shoes, but you should at the very least be a decent human being to where you're able to share and radiate strength. You're able to throw alley-oops, not just to yourself, but to also other people around you. Locally, across the major cities, small ripples, grand ripples, whatever you're able to, throw those alley-oops. Because that's going to ripple, and that's going to translate to the physical reality of a particular civilization. Individually, collectively, at the civilizational scale. By all means, please. You know, because I'm sick and tired of hearing females making the worst choices because they can't figure out the discernment. They can't figure out the embodiments of someone. And the same thing with males. I dislike hearing males that they're getting played and getting destroyed psychologically, biologically. They're crashing out because they couldn't improve the discernment to read what someone is embodying. It's not about the brief body. It's more about what someone is embodying and you improving your abilities to notice that. All right? So, yeah, in terms of Chizuru, she's not going to really go with Kazuya. It's something that's like, it's just part of it. Like, there's a lot that she wants to achieve, and unfortunately, the landscape, she might have to, I'm not jinxing, I'm not saying it, but she might have to sleep with somebody other than Kazuya. Like, she's going to have to sleep. If she wants to go into certain industries that have yet to be cleaned, have yet to be counterbalanced, have yet to be updated, have yet for actual accountability to be placed. You know, certain industries are psychologically and biologically overpolluted and is running rampant with those that have the worst aspects of humanity. So what that means is that you got some people that have the best aspects of humanity. When they're in a field, in a position of power, they don't prey on others. They use that position of power to give others opportunities without trying to degrade other people. Meanwhile, those that are bad apples, especially the specific corrupt oligarchs bad apples, and especially those that are operating from the worst aspects of humanity, they're prone to not just misuse technology and information, they're prone to misusing, if they have a position of power, if they're Nepo babies, and more than just Nepo babies, if they somehow got that position of power without them having sufficient personal lived experiences, without them feeling the pain of the population, if they don't come from the core of the population, they're going to misuse that position of power. And then you're going to see tangibly the ramifications of that. You're tangibly going to see the effects of that. It's going to translate to what you see for yourself tangibly in the environment, in the physical reality, in the landscape of the particular civilization. This is being reminded to fellow bright minds that are going to be able to add on to the topics, because you have a whole ton of credible grown adults that have been getting onto credible podcasts and have been alerting you about everything that's interconnected that shows you the stated actual bigger picture about what's happening in the particular civilization and the new actual way that you're going to have to go about counterbalancing the specific corrupt oligarchs, bad apples that have been doing too much power consolidation at your expense, have been extracting too much of your population's currency and misusing it in a multitude of inexcusable, corrupt, shady ways, and the effects and the results of that, the inexcusable, corrupt damages and the inexcusable, corrupt results of that, you have been seeing appear in the environment, in the physical reality, in the landscape of the particular civilization. So really what this comes down to is there's been a whole ton of infighting across the top fields of information, especially the entertainment industry. And you have people that will put it to use, and you have those that have been misusing it to worsen the quality of life against large percentages of people in a particular civilization, and also to worsen people's attention spans, because their goal, the bad apples, their goal is to get you to operate from a worse state of existence. Because when you get destabilized, that spills, that spirals, that causes you to be misdirected, and it causes damages not just against yourself, but also those around you, and individually, collectively, at the civilizational scale. That translates to the physical reality. And you see it for yourself. But there are solutions, thankfully, new updates, and you have to remind yourself that every civilization, it's all just about percentages, it's all just about alignments, and it's all just about you gathering. How well can you gather fellow bright minds to place a new tool, a new tangible tool that did not exist in a particular civilization? And the moment you go about placing that new tool, you see the tangible results. You see the physical reality get nudged to benefit you and the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization. All of that's being stated because there are new tangible solutions and new legal mobilization that's happening, but I'm not going to go into that in this episode. If you're curious about the new open source ledger and accountability button, you'll find out about that in an upcoming discussion and blueprint episode. Essentially, the reason that's more than a mantra and that reminder is being shared is just to remind you about what is happening tangibly within your environment, your physical reality, your landscape in the particular civilization, and the fact that it doesn't have to be that way. There are fellow bright minds making a stronger network to make the specific corrupt oligarchs' bad apples be counterbalanced and legally eradicated. That's the battle right now. We're not just going to talk about anime here all the time. There's going to be times that we're going to talk about what's impacting relationships, what's impacting the majority percentage of people in the particular civilization, what is affecting them, what's affecting families, households, what you can tangibly notice is impacting the environment, the physical reality, the landscape, and the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization. That's more than a mantra, it's a reminder. Comprehend, you have a say in how you want to update the ecosystem, how you're supposed to update the particular civilization. Because if you knew the true power that the populations have, when humanity gets on the same page when it counts the most, you'd be hyper-focused on actually tangibly updating the particular civilization. Instead of seeing all these families being destabilized, broken apart, artificially sabotaged. And who is inexcusably misusing what is extremely visible to see to too many credible grown adults that are alerting the populations about everything's interconnected that shows you the state of actual bigger picture. That have been alerting the populations, getting on podcasts, and showing everything interconnected that shows you the state of the actual bigger picture about what's happening in the particular civilization and what you can go about doing tangibly. Small ripples, grand ripples, you can help make the stated actual tangible solution and update the particular civilization and help the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization. And too many credible grown adults have been alerting you about that in podcasts, showing you the correlations. I'm going to continue providing sufficient reminders so you can go look and add on to the knowledge and insights being stated. That way you can go and figure out small ripples, grand ripples, how you can do your part and comprehend with fellow bright minds and add on to the knowledge and the insights being shared in the discussion and in the blueprint that's nudging the physical reality to benefit the majority percentage of people of a particular civilization and not benefit all them specific corrupt oligarchs, bad apples that have to be counterbalanced and legally eradicated now. With you comprehending the landscape, you're able to then figure out that it's going to be difficult for Chizuru. But there's ways that Chizuru can try to have integrity, but it's going to be difficult, and that's the part. If the writer goes that route, it depends how much the writer wants to show. The writer might not do too much to show you that. But it depends. You know, because there's no other reason for you to postpone it unless you're about to go down that route of you trying to have Chizuru get into the industry. And as soon as Chizuru goes into the industry, you got to be realistic about the components of what's going on in the landscape. No matter what, whether it takes 1 year, 10 years, your perception, I'm going to give you a perfect example. For you, let's say one tool didn't exist, right? And you've been going through a problem for 20 years. And then somebody is born, right? And let's say 5 years go by and then somebody suddenly makes the new tool. And that propels the physical reality in a specific way that updates the particular civilization. To you, you was waiting 20 years. But guess what? You didn't have to wait those 20 years. You could have figured out exactly what the other person figured out. It's all about you literally figuring out where to look and gathering fellow bright minds that have actual incentive to boost the quality of life of the particular civilization. Because you have to get precise. You can't blindly blame the government. Get more precise about how you're going to go about cleaning. By placing new tools that did not exist before in the particular civilization. The moment that you place those new tools, you're going to see the tangible results that's going to benefit the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization and is not going to benefit all them specific corrupt oligarchs, bad apples that have to be counterbalanced and legally eradicated now. That's more than a mantra. That's a reminder. And we're going to be getting more precise in the discussion and in the upcoming blueprint episodes. And what do you fellow bright minds think about what Chizuru is going to go about doing in terms of she's going to keep trying to make money and trying to pursue her actress career until what? If you were in Kazuya's perspective, what would you do? What do you think about can actually ultimately be a tangible solution?
The girl he wanted. You put in a lot of work for that, you know? And Chizuru, she had her own things going on. He somewhat had his own things going on. But at the same time, he still did his part to look out for her as much as possible. That's what Kazuya went about doing all throughout the manga. And it relates to some people, definitely. You know, it's not easy. Know where you're putting energy. But also it depends on the female. You know, there's well-rounded females, there's well-rounded men. You know, there's well-rounded women and well-rounded men. And it's up to you to improve your discernment. That way you don't end up in certain traps. So this is just a reminder of that. We just don't want anybody to go out there, you know, trying to pull off a Kazuya. A lot of females need to get more assistance from well-rounded women. The thing is, a lot of females are being misdirected and males are being misdirected into not just conflicting with themselves, but also each other in the civilization. And this is what you're able to see tangibly is going on. And you see the effects that's having on a lot of people. It's causing people to get into the worst relationships and then have to overdose and go through a phase of doing drugs. You know, you do drugs trying to disconnect from certain trauma. You know, if you don't transmute and heal yourself, but you're jumping into a relationship and then you start doing drugs, and then at the same time, as you're doing drugs, you know, then you need more dosages of the drugs because throughout the years, if you do it a lot, it doesn't have the same effect on your body as it had before. So then you have to do stronger amounts of the drug and alcohol that disconnects you and that gets in the way of what type of information you can encounter. And keep in mind, when you encounter certain information, that's all it takes oftentimes for you to have a change of heart. So I'd rather people have changes of heart to where they're becoming more competent and they're able to share and radiate strength. You know, they don't have to do damn near everything, but small ripples, grand ripples, they're operating from a place of actual intellectual sincerity, and day to day, they're doing the part to be competent for themselves and those around them, you know, individually, collectively, at the civilizational scale. That's what I prefer. You know, some motherfuckers, they're going to be like, oh, hey, people should, blah, 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 blah. It's like, depending the type of information, it's like, it's only how can you help someone become more competent so that when they do encounter information, they won't use it to spiral into lower dead-end paradigms. A lot of females and males right now, they're fighting themselves, and at the same time they're fighting, like, there's so many females sabotaging other females, and it's just like, come on, man. Because they don't have someone to give them sufficient reminders or to give them an alley-oop. So It's like, okay, let's make a space where we can get as many people as possible, stated help, fellow bright minds, gather and make a stronger network, and provide reminders in this discussion, in the blueprint, and into the comment section. You, fellow bright minds listening to this, you can add on things that people can encounter. Throw them an alley-oop. Help them out. And it's much appreciated. It's just if someone is unwilling, if they're not at that phase of their life, if they haven't had a encounter of knowledge and insights that has them have a change of heart, you can't really force them. Some people do it, the encountering knowledge and insights in a few years, 20 years. Some people never do, but it's all dependent on how fast people can encounter knowledge and insights that then has them do their homework and do their diligence about tangibly the environment, the physical reality, the landscape of the particular civilization. And, that's the reason why we continue making these discussions, because in every topic, I'm going to provide as many reminders as possible, and I'm going to connect it back to the main point. I want more people to be competent. You don't just wake up one day and earn that. Kazuya put in a lot of work, and he had to, in a clumsy way, figure out ways to operate from being decent. And sure, it started out with him throwing a tantrum at her, but he did manage to work on himself sufficiently. At key times, showed that Kazuya has consideration that can resonate with Chizuru. And most females, unfortunately, at the moment have been getting misprogrammed, and they don't realize it usually until their 30s. That's usually when they start really noticing it. But during their 20s, it's very difficult because if they don't see the end result of someone, it's easy for them to not look at, okay, what is someone actually embodying? Because when someone's in front of the camera, they're not going to show you, what they actually embody. So that's why you have to make an environment to where you can figure out easier what is it that someone embodies. What is it somebody embodies? What is it somebody embodies? And place the tools that's going to help you and the populations be able to faster and easier find out what somebody embodies, because that then helps you make informed decisions. And the best decisions is informed decisions. When then you can make informed decisions with clarity, and then you don't feel butthurt, because a lot of people, they feel butthurt because some people withhold information from them, and then when they find out, they get upset. Like for example, someone tries to cheat on a husband, on a wife, and then the husband and the wife find out. But if it, from the get-go, before you even cheat, you let them know, like, this is the situation, you figure, because you shouldn't put yourself in a situation where, now you're scared about assets. Nah. These are things you're supposed to be alert about. Don't walk yourself into that. There's been sufficient people who've walked that path. You could have asked some questions before you even walk a specific path. And do so where you're not hurting people. But you don't have to hurt people. Make sure that you don't have to hurt people. That way you don't have to force yourself to find yourself in a situation where you have to risk your freedom. Find ways to become more competent. That way you can help yourself and the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization. Because the effects that's going to have, small ripples, grand ripples, you're going to be more grateful for that than you allowing to inexcusably misdirect yourself, that causing problems for yourself and the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization. To fellow bright minds out there, if you could say something to Kazuya right now, what would you tell Kazuya? And how would you want to update, what would you want to tangibly place in the civilization to nudge the physical reality in such a way that's going to benefit the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization and not benefit all them specific corrupt oligarchs, bad apples that have to be counterbalanced and legally eradicated now? Answer the question. What would you place in the physical reality that's going to benefit the majority percentage of people of the particular civilization, not benefit all them specific corrupt oligarchs, bad apples that have to be counterbalanced and legally eradicated now?